It was a Thursday, I remember, 'cause Thursdays were spaghetti nights. Dad had this rule: every Thursday, without fail, we'd sit down to a plate of spaghetti. It was our thing, you know? But that Thursday was different. It was the day Mom left, and everything changed. Dad walked in, later than usual. I was already at the table, poking at my now cold spaghetti, wondering why he was so late. The moment he stepped through the door, I knew something was off. His face was all red, like he'd been crying or something. Seeing Dad like that, it scared me. I'd never seen him cry before. "Anna," he said, his voice all shaky. "We need to talk." I remember feeling this knot in my stomach, like something real bad was about to happen. "What's wrong, Dad?" I asked, trying to sound brave, but my voice came out all squeaky. He didn't sit down. Instead, he paced back and forth, like he was trying to find the right words. Finally, he stopped and looked at me, his eyes all red and puffy. "It's your mom," he said. She's not coming back." I didn't get it. Not coming back? From where? It was spaghetti night. Where else would she be? "She left, Anna. She's gone. She left us for someone else." The words hit me like a truck. I felt this chill run down my spine. "Gone, Mom?" But, why? That was all I could muster. Dad's voice broke as he tried to explain. "I don't know, kiddo. I don't understand it myself. But she made her choice, and we gotta deal with it." I was mad, you know? Mad and sad and a bunch of other things I couldn't quite name. Did she even say goodbye? Does she not love us anymore? Dad sat down next to me then, pulling me into a hug. "I'm sure she loves you, Anna. But sometimes, people, they make choices that hurt others. It's not right, but it happens." I pushed him away, feeling this anger bubbling up inside me. "Well, I hate her," I shouted, not really meaning it. Or maybe I did. I was so mixed up. Dad sighed, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "I know, kiddo. It's okay to be mad. But we'll get through this. Together." The rest of the evening was a blur. I didn't eat my spaghetti. How could I? Spaghetti night was ruined, along with everything else. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Mom. Why would she leave? Didn't she care about us at all? Dad was hurting, I was hurting, and it felt like she just didn't give a damn. It was the first time I really understood that sometimes, people you trust can just break your heart. And as much as I wanted to hate her for what she did, part of me just wanted to understand. Why did she leave? Did she ever think about us? But those were questions for another time. For now, I just had to keep moving forward, one day at a time, with Dad by my side. Then Sarah came into our lives, kinda like a surprise plot twist you never saw coming, but ends up being the best part of the story. The day Dad told me about Sarah, I was skeptical. We were doing dishes, and he was all nervous, which was weird for him. "Anna, I've been seeing someone," he blurted out, almost dropping a plate. I froze, soap suds dripping from my hand. "What? Who?" I wasn't sure whether to feel angry or curious. "Her name's Sarah. She's really wonderful, Anna. I think you'll like her," he said, avoiding my gaze. I didn't say much. Just nodded and kept on with the dishes. But inside, I was a whirlwind of thoughts. Another woman? Was she trying to replace Mom? I wasn't ready for that. The first time I met Sarah, I had my defenses up. She came over for dinner, and I could tell she was nervous, which made me feel a bit better. She wasn't acting all cocky like she owned the place. "Hi, Anna. I've heard so much about you," she said, offering a smile that seemed genuinely warm. "Yes? All good things, I hope," I replied, trying to sound tough, but probably just coming off as awkward. We sat down to eat, and the conversation was kinda stilted at first. Dad kept trying to fill the silence, bless him. But then, Sarah started talking about this band she loved, which turned out to be one of my favorites too. That broke the ice, and before I knew it, we were chatting like old friends. It didn't take long for Sarah to become a fixture in our lives. She moved in a few months later, and things, they just felt right, you know? Like she was meant to be part of our family. One day, after Sarah had moved in, I came home fuming from school. Some kids had been making fun of me for not having a mom, and I'd had enough. I slammed the door and threw my backpack against the wall. Sarah came rushing in, all concerned. "What's wrong, Anna?" she asked, kneeling to be on my level. "Nothing. Just leave me alone," I snapped, not really meaning it. I was just so mad. Sarah didn't budge. "It doesn't look like nothing. Wanna talk about it?" I hesitated, then blurted out everything about the kids at school, about missing mom, about feeling so damn angry all the time. Sarah just listened, her expression soft. When I was done, she hugged me. Not in a trying to replace your mom way, but in a I'm here for you no matter what way. That meant the world to me. "Anna, I'll never try to take your mom's place. But I want you to know I'm here for you, okay? As a friend, as family. Whatever you need." I nodded, wiping away tears. "Thanks, Sarah." From then on, Sarah wasn't just Dad's girlfriend or the woman living with us. She was part of our family. She helped me with homework, listened to my teenage rants, and even taught me how to apply eyeliner properly. She filled our home with laughter and love, something I hadn't realized how much I'd missed until she showed up. One evening, we were all watching a movie, and I looked over at Sarah and Dad, laughing together on the couch. It hit me then how much things had changed, how much better they'd gotten. "Thanks, Sarah," I whispered, not sure if she heard me. "For what?" she whispered back, turning to me with a smile. "For everything," I said, meaning every word. Sarah just squeezed my hand and turned back to the movie. But that moment, that simple exchange, it sealed the deal for me. Sarah was family, through and through. College was a whole new world for me. Moved out, living on campus, studying economics because, well, it seemed like a solid choice. I'd call Dad and Sarah every Sunday, filling them in on the mundane and the exciting alike. They were my rock, my safety net in this whirlwind of new experiences. One evening, I was cramming for midterms with my roommate, Jenna, when my phone rang. Seeing Dad's ID, I figured it was their usual check-in. "Hey, Dad, what's up?" I answered, trying to keep the stress out of my voice. But it wasn't Dad. It was Sarah, and her voice was all wrong. "Anna, you need to come home. It's your dad. He had a heart attack." My world stopped. "What? Is he okay? Tell me he's okay, Sarah." She was silent for a moment too long. "He didn't make it, Anna." "I'm so sorry." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. Jenna looked up, her face full of concern as she caught the tail end of the conversation. "Dad's gone," I managed to choke out before everything went blurry. The next few days were a blur of tears, travel, and terrible coffee. The funeral felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. Dad was gone. Just like that. No warnings, no goodbyes. After, when the crowds of sympathetic faces had dwindled, Sarah and I found ourselves sitting in the living room, surrounded by the silence of the house. "I can't believe he's gone," I whispered, the words feeling like lead on my tongue. Sarah wrapped an arm around me. "I know, kiddo. I know. It's going to be tough, but we'll get through this. Together." "How, Sarah? How do we do this without him?" The tears were coming again, a relentless tide. "We remember him. We keep living, because that's what he would have wanted. And we take care of each other." It was tough, going back to college. Part of me wanted to drop out, come home, and never leave Sarah alone in that big, empty house. But another part of me knew that was the last thing Dad would have wanted. "Go back, Anna," Sarah had said when I broached the subject. "Finish what you started. Make your dad proud." "But what about you?" I asked, feeling torn. "I'll be fine. And I'll be here when you come back. Always." So, I went back. Jenna, bless her, had turned our dorm room into a fortress of comfort by the time I returned. She didn't say much, just hugged me tight and let me be. It was exactly what I needed. Classes were a struggle. My concentration was shot, my motivation at an all-time low. I remember sitting in a lecture, staring blankly at the professor, words washing over me like a foreign language. After class, my professor, Dr. Henderson, pulled me aside. "Anna, is everything all right? Your participation has dropped significantly." I shrugged, the weight of grief making it hard to articulate my feelings. "It's my dad. He passed away." Dr. Henderson's expression softened. "I'm so sorry to hear that, Anna. If you need anything, any extensions, or just someone to talk to, my door is always open." "Thanks," I mumbled, grateful, but too numb to really feel it. That's how it went for a while. Going through the motions, barely keeping my head above water. But slowly, with a lot of support from Sarah, Jenna, and even Dr. Henderson, things started to get a bit easier. Not better, exactly, but less impossible. By the end of the semester, I'd managed to pull my grades up, securing a decent GPA. It felt like a hollow victory, though, without Dad there to celebrate with me. But I knew he was proud, somewhere, somehow. And that thought, that feeling, gave me the strength to keep going, to face whatever came next. With Sarah by my side and Dad's memory in my heart, I started to believe maybe, just maybe, I could make it through. The time flew by, and there I was, 27, living in my own space, neck deep in a career that was actually going somewhere. Bosses liked me, work was steady, and for once, it felt like I had a handle on things. It was one of those rare Saturdays where I had nothing planned but to chill, maybe binge-watch something mindless. That was until the doorbell rang, slicing through my lazy morning like a sharp knife. I wasn't expecting anyone. Figured maybe it was a package I forgot ordering or a neighbor about to start some small talk I wasn't in the mood for. When I swung the door open, though, the last person I expected was standing there. My mom. Except, she looked different. Years and hard living had taken their toll, leaving her looking worn and, frankly, a bit rough around the edges. "What are you doing here?" I blurted out, not hiding my shock well. Her eyes welled up, and she looked like she was about to crumble right there. "I wanted to see you, Anna. It's been too long." Too long was an understatement. Years of silence, and suddenly she pops up? Mixed feelings were an understatement. Why now, after all this time? My voice had an edge, and I wasn't about to soften it for her sake. She wiped at her eyes, taking a shaky breath. "I've always wanted to fix things between us. Your dad and Sarah, they wouldn't let me get close." That made me frown. "Come on, you expect me to buy that? Why didn't you reach out when I turned 18? I wasn't under their thumb then." Her excuse was ready, rehearsed maybe. "I was sick, Anna. Really sick. It took me a long time to get better. And when I finally did, I knew I had to try to connect with you, no matter how late it was." The conversation was like wading through mud, awkward and messy. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face, but another part, a part one wasn't ready to admit existed, wanted to hear her out. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe something else. We talked, if you could call it that. More like danced around the years of silence, each of us tiptoeing around the minefield that was our relationship. Then, without warning, she said she had to go. Just like that, she turned and left, leaving me with a storm of thoughts, and not a single answer that made sense. The door clicked shut behind her, and I was left standing there, feeling a weird mix of anger, sadness, and a dozen other things I couldn't put a name to. She had her chance to explain, and all I got were excuses. Still, her visit cracked something open, something I thought I had buried a long time ago. After Mom's unexpected drop-in, my head was a mess, buzzing with a million thoughts, and not one clear answer. I needed some grounding, some clarity. There was only one person who could offer that, Sarah. So, I found myself driving over to her place, the one she'd moved into after Dad passed. It was a cozy little house, filled with warmth and memories, a stark contrast to the confusion I was feeling. I knocked on the door, and Sarah answered with her usual welcoming smile. But it faltered a bit when she saw my face. "Anna, what's wrong?" she asked, ushering me in. I didn't even know where to start. "Mom showed up at my place today," I blurted out as soon as we sat down in her living room, a cup of tea in front of each of us. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. "Your mom? After all these years?" "Yes, and she had a lot to say. Mostly excuses." I took a sip of my tea, finding it hard to look at her. "What did she say?" Sarah's voice was calm, but I could tell she was bracing herself. "She claimed that you and Dad kept her away from me. That she was sick and couldn't reach out until now." The words felt bitter, recounting Mom's version of events. Sarah shook her head, a look of disbelief crossing her face. "Anna, that's not true. You know that. Your dad and I never stopped her from reaching out to you. She made her choices." I knew that, deep down, but hearing Mom's story had stirred up doubts. I guess part of me wanted to believe there was a good reason for her leaving. Sarah reached over, squeezing my hand. "It's natural to want to find some good in her reasons, but you can't let her rewrite the past. You know what happened." "Yeah, I do." I sighed, feeling a bit foolish. "She also said she was sick." "We never knew if she was," Sarah said gently. "But even if she was, it doesn't change the years of silence, Anna. It doesn't excuse everything." The clarity I was seeking started to seep through the fog of emotions. Sarah always had that effect, a way of making things make sense. She also mentioned wanting to start over, to have some sort of relationship. Sarah's expression turned cautious. "Anna, people don't change overnight. If you decide to let her back into your life, be careful. Protect yourself." Her words were a warning, a reminder of the pain that had taken so long to heal. I don't even know if I want her in my life. Today, just, through me. Whatever you decide, I'm here for you. Just, remember who she was, and who she's been all these years. Sarah's advice was like a lighthouse, guiding me through stormy seas. "I will." "Thanks, Sarah." I meant it. Her perspective was invaluable, a tether to reality when I felt adrift. After Mom started dropping by more often, it was kinda nice at first, catching up, feeling out this whole mother-daughter vibe we'd never really had. But then, the vibe shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't just coffee and chit-chat. She started hinting at needing cash, first for this doctor's bill, then for that rehab thing she said was for her illness recovery. Each time, laying it on thick with the lovey-dovey stuff, something I wasn't used to from her. Despite Sarah's earlier warnings ringing in my ears, I found myself unable to say no. Maybe it was the guilt, or maybe I was just starved for that maternal affection I'd missed out on. But then she hit me with a real doozy. Out of the blue, she's like, "I found this perfect apartment right next to yours. Wouldn't it be great to be neighbors?" And I'm thinking, sure, sounds nice, until she drops the bombshell. She wants me to foot the bill. The whole year's rent, up front, adding up to a cool 24 grand. I choked on my coffee. "You what? That's a lot of money, Mom." She didn't miss a beat, playing the hurt card like a pro. "I thought you'd want to help your mother out," she said, all wounded like. "I do, but it's a lot. I need to think about it." I managed to stammer out, feeling like I'd just been sucker punched. Well, she didn't like that one bit, got all huffy, and stormed out. So there I am, feeling like the worst daughter in history for not immediately opening my wallet. I needed advice, someone with no skin in the game. Naturally, I called Sarah. "Hey." I started, no preamble. "Mom asked me to pay a year's rent for her. 24K, what do I do?" Sarah's response was instant, a mix of concern and anger. "Anna, you can't be serious. After everything, you're considering it?" I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I don't know, Sarah. She's my mom. She's also the woman who left you and your dad high and dry. You owe her nothing." Sarah shot back, her voice sharp as attack. Her words stung, but I knew she was right. Still, something in me couldn't shake the idea of finally having a real relationship with my mom, even if it meant buying it. Against my better judgment, I went ahead and agreed to Mom's request. But I wasn't completely naive. I made sure my name was on the lease, a little insurance policy just in case things went south. When I told Sarah what I'd done, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Anna, I hope you know what you're doing," she finally said, her voice heavy with unspoken worries. "Yes, me too," I replied, though in truth, I had no idea what I was doing. But there was no turning back now. I'd made my choice, and all I could do was hope it wouldn't come back to bite me. A week after the whole apartment thing with Mom, I figured, maybe we could try to smooth things over with a little celebration. I thought a surprise housewarming might show her I was trying to make an effort, bridge the gap between us. So, there I was, standing outside her door, ready to surprise her, when I caught a snippet of conversation that froze me in my tracks. There was my mom, loud and clear, boasting to a room full of her new buddies about how she'd played me for a fool. "Can you believe it? Got my own daughter to pay for this place for a whole year. She's as stupid as they come, just like her old man was," she cackled. My heart sank. I felt this cold rush of disbelief and then hot anger bubbling up. But I pushed the door open and stepped inside before I could second-guess myself. The scene was exactly as I'd imagined, a bunch of drunken strangers cluttering up the living room, with my mom holding court among them. The laughter died down as every eye turned to me, the sucker of the hour. For a moment, Mom looked caught off guard, a flicker of guilt maybe, but it was gone as quick as it came. Then, doubling down, she sneered. "Look who decided to show up. Come to see what your generosity bought?" Her friend snickered, eyeing me like I was some kind of joke. The anger inside me was boiling over, but I kept my cool. Smiling, I said, "Actually, I came to tell you something interesting. About the rent for this place." Mom smirked, playing to her audience. "Oh yeah? What's that?" I pulled out the rental agreement I'd kept, waving it like a flag of victory. "See, I only paid for a month. Not a year." You could have heard a pin drop. Mom's face went white, her smirk vanishing as she realized the game was up. Her friends, sensing the shift, started to back away, their laughter turning to murmurs of confusion. I didn't wait for her to recover, to spit out some excuse or plea. I just turned on my heel and walked out, leaving her to her mess, both literal and metaphorical. As I walked away, her outraged screams followed me, but they didn't touch me. Not anymore. I felt lighter somehow, like I'd finally shaken off a weight I'd been carrying without even realizing it. After the whole mess with the apartment and catching Mom in her true colors, I went straight to Sarah's. Needed someone who could make sense of this circus. Before I could even get a word in, Mom shows up out of nowhere, all fire and brimstone, threatening to sue me for every penny I had. Wanted me to support her for life, as if the years of neglect could just be erased with a paycheck. Sarah, she just laughed. Not a happy laugh, but one of those I can't believe this laughs. "You're gonna sue? Really?" She wasn't even mad, just amazed at the audacity. Mom was on a tear, shouting about rights and money until Sarah, cool as ever, pulled out this stack of papers from a drawer. "You mean these rights?" she says, waving the documents that spelled out how Mom had ditched her parental duties ages ago. Mom's face when she saw those papers? It was like someone had flipped a switch. From fiery to deflated in a second flat. Fast forward 2 weeks, and word gets around that Mom's been kicked out of the apartment. Apparently, she tried to pull a fast one, refusing to leave, and they had to call the cops to drag her out. She showed up at my place next, pounding on the door, making all sorts of threats and pleas through the wood. But I was done. Completely over it. I yelled back, clear enough so she'd hear. "Knock it off, or I'm calling the cops." Guess that got through to her because she took off. Haven't seen hide nor hair of her since. Sitting there, after she'd scampered away, it hit me. I was finally free. Not just from her threats and manipulations, but from the weight of her expectations, her disappointments. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I could breathe easy,